Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another week of the Multiverse Podcast. I'm your host, Bad Ty Bricks, and I'm here with my friends and my family, none other than Tyrone Thornhill and Holly Noon. What's going on, guys? How are you
Hey,
this week?
go ahead, Holly.
Making
Like,
it. Oh
yeah.
yeah, I'm making it. No, I mean, I finished my first quarter in my doctorate program, so I'm happy that's done. But I'm
Congratulations.
I'm mentally, my mind is fried.
Well,
So
well, well, big round of applause for that. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
thank you
Like
guys.
you don't stop. You just don't stop, baby girl.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Listen, we are so excited for you and continued success on everything that you do. Tyrone, how about you, man? How many doctorates have you got?
The only doctor is that I need right now is the one that's going to fix this cold. I've been
Oh,
recovered from a cold all week, but this first day that I don't feel like just a tired, angry ball of snot. So this is a better day than most of them this week, and it's looking up from here.
Well, that's great to hear. I always want you to be in good health, man. You're a near and dear friend to me, so we
Well,
we,
thank
we
you. I
want you to
appreciate
stay
that.
healthy.
Thank you.
Listen, if you are joining us on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe and that like button, and pull up a seat and enjoy the ride. And also, if you are following us on any of the audio outlets or platforms, make sure you pull up a seat and chill out. We about to get it in. So listen, guys, there's a lot going on in the news. Not a lot of good things happening. Not a lot to smile about. Most recently, um, we had another mass shooting, um, again affecting children,
Hmm.
and this time we lost three more children and three adults. And I'm so at a loss for words at this point, man. Where it's just like how does this continue to happen? Why is this continuing to happen? um, what can we do to stop it from happening? Or at least, like, what do we do? I mean, Tyrone,
mm,
I know you probably feel the same way I do. Like when you heard what happened in Nashville, um, you know, how are you feeling in that moment?
Mixture of frustration and I would say just kind of that feeling of like, well, yeah, this is the deal we made. You know what I mean? One of the things is like, how do we stop it? Well, leadership in this country has decided that this is the cost of doing business. The reasons why it keeps happening is because they're okay with it happening, and they can say thoughts and prayers and all that shit as much as they want, but the real truth of it is that we understand that, or I say we, I think the leadership of this country understands or have gone ahead and just accepted that this is the cost of doing business in freedom America and blah, 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 and all that shit. And anything that we could do to stop this would just go against what the country stands for. We like basically once the first one of these took place, and I think Sandy Hook was like the first one that really like got at children this age. Uh, Once that first one then became another one, it was the country saying, "This is who we are now." So it's what can we do as individuals, what can we do as people, without our leadership stepping up. It's going to sound disconnected and it's going to sound ridiculous, but the only thing that our leadership cares about is money flowing in this country. The only thing that gets their attention, the only thing that makes things happen is when the money stops. What do we do about it? Full on general strike, like France is in the streets right now. You stop the economy, bring it to a grinding halt. All of a sudden, you have power. All of a sudden, the people have the power back. So, everybody start to educate yourselves on unionizing, organizing, general striking, what that the support that comes along with that, because it's an uncomfortable thing. It's a thing that it's not going to be fun for anybody. You know what I mean? People are going to have a little bit tougher time around that, but it's the thing that has to happen because our leadership will not do anything about it. And I say our leadership, I don't this isn't me saying Republicans are the ones or Democrats the one. It's everybody. Everybody's made that choice that this is just the cost of doing business. because it hasn't hurt their pockets yet.
You know, Tyrone, you brought up a lot of good points in what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I think has been spotlighted by your points is the fact that this is a business and they do conduct a lot of the way the safety is not a priority on the list of business. If it interrupts or becomes an obstacle to making money, then hey, it's one of those things that gets swept to the side. Um, what I want to address is the comments made after the incident by one said business leader. We'll call him governor in this case. Uh, Governor Bill Lee, the governor of Tennessee. Um, he had this comment to make. Basically, he said there will be a time to talk about the legislation, and he's calling on the people of Tennessee to pray for the families and the victims, and everything like that. But he just wants, and I want to quote exactly what he said because I don't want to misquote him. Let me see. Yes. Okay. So yeah, he said, "I'm calling on the people of Tennessee to pray for the families of the victims, for the Covenant family, for those courageous officers, for the family of the shooter, for those who are hurting and angry and confused." Lee, a Republican, said in the video address on Tuesday evening, "Prayer is the first thing we should do, but it's not the only thing." Um, when you hear your leadership, I understand, Holly, that in a time like this, everybody is kind of, you know, disconnected and just, all over the place. You just had children get killed. There's that reaction time. I understand. Um, but in that moment, as a father, because I believe he is a father, um, at the core of it, do you not at that moment react like this has got to stop? Like there's a level of anger because it's now affecting the children. This is not just a grown up problem. This is now affecting our the ones that we protect the most, our little ones. When you hear the governor speak like this, do you support what Tyrone is saying as far as this looking to be more and more like I'm going to protect my investments, I'm going to protect my interests rather than speak to the actual problem and try to develop a resolution?
Oh, absolutely. I think there are a lot of people that share Tyrone's sentiment. I think actually one of the mothers from the Parkland shooting, she, I think like Fox News, like their thing was running live, and she hopped on there and was just like, I lobby ever since even Parkland. And she's like, everybody, she's like, nobody, none of these legislators, nobody in power does anything. And she's like, how many kids have to die
Mm,
to fix this problem? And she said, it's like she's Parkland, and that was like not really that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we are. And she was saying, like, okay, the number one killer of kids, like she was just like, she kept going on and on. And like, Fox News didn't even ask to talk to her. She just hopped in front of this camera and was just trying to get her point across. Like, leaders, you need to listen to this. Like, this is a serious problem. You need to fix it.
mm.
Like, this is, it's bad. Like, it's very bad that this keeps happening.
As a mother, Holly,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, obviously we know you homeschool,
Yeah.
um, but three families that day, well, six families, but three families in particular, sent their kids to school
Mm.
with the notion and the understanding that they would see their kids later on that day, and
Yeah.
they weren't able to see. As a mother, like how does one deal, not even deal, how do you feel knowing that you homeschool and this happens? Do you feel as though that was the right decision every time you hear something like this? Is it like,
Uh, Absolutely. I think it's not, it just to me proves how broken the system is. And I think it's just, It's not like, oh, the public school system's broken. I just think many political system, like there's just capitalism, like all the systems ism. There's just a lot of um issues, and I think this to me just reinforces like why I think I keep a tighter rein or whatever, helicopter mom, or more overprotective of my children, just because I can't trust that I can send them out into these spaces run by other adults. Like adult decisions are impacting our kids. And so it's like, yeah, I can only be responsible for my kids. And so it's kind of just how I operate, because things like this keep happening. It's like gun violence. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, in
I,
America.
I do want
Go
to
ahead.
point out that this is kind of part of like a sort of an ingredient in the recipe of
Hmm.
pushing the country towards ultimate, like, this kind of neo-fascism that's sort of like this crystal fascism type thing. If you notice, there are people are already like, homeschooling is something that's becoming more and more popular because people are like, I don't want my kids to get shot. uh,
Hmm.
Also, you have uh, pushes to ban books in schools,
Yep.
pushes to demonize all kinds of what's the word, curriculum.
Yep.
Mhm.
You have all this stuff, and all of these things help to weaken faith in the public school system. Well, if you do that, then you have so then if you have people who can pull their kids out, they will pull their kids out. Well, if you have a bunch of kids who are out of the public school system, then funding starts to drop.
Yep.
Funding will start to drop because politicians are trying to weaken the public school system. Then you're going to lose teachers. When you lose teachers, you lose a real education. Who are they going to replace those teachers with? They're going to replace those
Mhm.
teachers with cops, and they're going to replace those teachers with military. There's already been talk about that sort of thing in states like
Yeah.
Florida. Uh,
Hmm.
this is how you get to a place and it's gonna sound like screaming fire or whatever, but this is how you get to a place like Nazi Germany before World War II. It's the playbook is so clear now, and the way that we're going and the speed at which we're getting there is starting to become so alarming that, I mean, when I see things like this, that's why like I get I, yes, it the idea of a school shooting is absolutely horrible. When I see things
Hmm.
like this now, I'm like, yo, there's been not just school shootings, but mass shootings and any kind of shootings. But I think there's been something like over 120 mass shootings this year in this country,
Yeah.
with no action taken to do anything about it. If anything, there's been more action taken to make this easier to happen. There's no red flag law in Tennessee. You have an entire segment of the government who has, made it their goal to protect guns at all costs. You saw a lot of Republican congressmen and senators walking into their chambers with AR-15 lapels on their jackets, replacing their American flag lapels. Those kinds of things. These aren't just. It's not just like, oh, this happens and how do we deal with it. It's like this happens because of several things, several choices that are being made. Now, this is. I don't want people to think that what I'm saying is our government wants school shootings to happen. I'm sure they would rather that don't happen, but they do know how to stop it and they refuse to take action. Ultimately, this will get us to a point where they want to be, and they've been trying very hard to get there. So it's when we talk about what we do to stop it, how do we organize, how do we change things? We're not just talking about stopping the school shootings. We're talking about saving the like almost our entire public from becoming victims of a system that is going to absolutely destroy everything this country's ever uh, all the ideals the country was supposed to stand for.
Man. Uh, Tyrone, why is it? Why is this being? Why is it still so easy for this to happen? Like one of the things that I read in an article was some of the things that they found at the individual's house. The individual being Aubrey Hell, who was the active shooter. Um, she basically had all of the blueprints for the building. She knew where all the cameras were. She knew where the exits, the entryways were. Apparently, she knew what door to go in through because she walked directly into the school. Um, and they have CCTV footage that shows her, kind of just preparing, I guess, to go do what she was about to do. And why is it so easy to access some of these schools still? Because my wife was a teacher for years, and you can't just go walk into their school. You have to be buzzed in. But
Yeah,
what's going
I
on
thought
here?
I thought I read that he used the guns and like shot through the glass and climbed through or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Like
it
that's what an
was
article I was just reading. Like he shot through the glass and climbed through the window. It's
yeah,
like,
Wow.
yikes.
yeah.
So this is the real life video
They
game.
said it, they said he planned it. Like they found documents that he had planned it. So it's like, yeah, how'd he know
Yeah,
what to do, where to go, and
Is it time to stop publicizing that? But like really having building parameters and all of this to schools and school buildings and government buildings and things like that.
mm,
that's those are things to distract from the actual issue, which is access to to very dangerous firearms. If we locked the kids in windowless cement buildings with no access other than a single door, people would figure it out eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not you know it's not doors. The Fox News types love to talk about. Oh, a door was
Yeah.
open and a door was unlocked and stuff like that. It's a gun. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
going, and these people are determined to go and kill. A door is not going to stop them. I'm sorry, like that's just what it is. We've got I've seen videos of people making little, like, there's these little panic rooms in classrooms
I
now, and like,
saw that.
yeah,
Yeah, like pops out.
everything, yeah, which is like, okay, so you made a smaller room in the room that nobody was supposed to get into in the first place, that wasn't supposed to be there. Like,
Right.
none of it is going to do anything. This is a problem that is a particularly American problem, and the problem is that somebody like this has access to weapons of war. And I know those that, like, these are buzzwords and stuff like that, but like actual weapons that are designed to kill people, and like, not in it's not like the effect that an AR-15 has on the body is absolutely horrific. These are weapons that we don't need to have access to. I believe that this person went and bought guns at 5 different establishments before ultimately committing this shooting. And with no red flag law, there was no sort of alarm bells that rang to have anybody kind of look into this. Why is this person going and doing this? I believe that the parents sold one of the guns because they were trying to make it so their kid didn't have guns. Uh, and it's the access. You know what I mean? Like, all of that other stuff doesn't matter if you don't have somebody who could just easily go pick up uh, one of these weapons to go and just blast holes in people. It's the discussions that we have outside of um, assault weapons bans and stuff like that. The discussions that we have on how to stop things are, it's bailing water out of a sinking ship. It's nothing. It's meant to just distract us and keep us talking about things that don't matter.
Mm.
Mm.
At this point, Tyrone, do you think we just need to just do away with guns altogether?
It would be a very hard thing to do that, but there has been precedent set, and there are numbers to prove that assault weapons bans do work. There, I believe it was during the Bill Clinton era when there was an assault weapons ban. We did not see these kinds of shootings happening. It was. I'm trying to. I don't want to say anything wrong, but there is a direct correlation between assault weapons ban being repealed and a massive increase in these sorts of shootings. So you have to common sense laws do work. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's background checks, universal background checks, red flag laws, whether just there are ways that you can make a dent in this kind of thing. Uh, I think because of American sort of because of American culture, gun culture is just a big part of America. It would be impossible to ban weapons altogether. And you know, so we're kind of stuck, unfortunately. But yeah, we can start with an assault weapons ban, and that is the first thing that needs to happen. I think if you go ahead and create an assault weapons ban, then these sorts of shootings will absolutely start to decline.
Mm. Ali, are we going to continue to see a rise in? You think we're going to continue to see a rise in mass shootings as long as there's
Yeah,
no legislation in place?
absolutely. And I think honestly, it just the fact that it's like it keeps happening and it's more frequent. And I think it just the fact that nothing really happens in the end. I mean, it just shows people that it's possible and it just allows them to carry out that idea. It's like what's stopping them? Nothing. It's like
Yeah, and new
just find a
things are
target.
learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, new tactics and techniques are learned every time, and it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. Nobody just going to decide to stop. Um,
Yep.
this is again, this is now just considered the cost of doing business in this country, and we have to. We can't, as a people, there are a lot of things that we settle for because we just kind of accept them as, part of America, right?
Mm.
That is what needs to stop. Like and I'm not victim blaming here because we are victims of a system, but uh, as individuals, we're like, well, what can I do about it? And it's because we're thinking as individuals. If we start thinking as a group of people, if we start thinking as a citizenry, we start thinking as an organization, uh, people actually have immense power. And that's what the conversation is happening more and more. We're seeing examples. I think that over the last few years, there's been more strikes, there's been more unionization and stuff like that. So it's slowly growing. We're slowly starting to realize, but it needs to happen on a much larger scale, and we need to recognize how powerful people are when we can look at leadership and be like, hey, you don't want to play ball, everything stops. You get nothing.
Hmm. Well, I just want to take a moment and just give a moment of silence for the victims, and give send our condolences to the victims' families, and all that have been affected by this horrific event. But let's just take that moment and just remember these six individuals. Now, again, our condolences go out to all of the families affected, all of the people that were affected in this horrific event. Tyrone, speaking of the business of things and how our government continues to sacrifice us in a way for their own financial gains and whatever other things that drive the reasons behind decisions being made. Mississippi, we all know Mississippi has been ravaged by tornado. Um, this seems to be a theme that happens with Mississippi. I want to say every year they're ravaged by some type of hurricane, tornado. I think they were just underwater uh, uh, 2 years ago, if I remember correctly. Um, but Mississippi continues to fall victim to these different disasters, as well as other things that plague the state, such as diabetes, such as hypertension, such as so many different diseases and things that typically affect the impoverished. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today with you guys is the fact that Mississippi, despite the ills that it keeps encountering, it keeps denying assistance from the government. Um, Tyrone, you seem to have a little bit of a backstory into this. Could you give us a little bit of insight on what's going on in Mississippi?
This is an extreme example of a tactic that's often used amongst Republican leaders. Ron DeSantis did this in Florida. Mississippi governor does it a lot. Uh, it's a way to say we don't want federal intervention. We're all about states' rights. We're all about, just leave us alone, let us do our thing. We don't want any of your money because we're going to be held hostage by you and this and that. So it's political posturing that directly negatively affects the citizens of those states. The people that lose are the people like, who are suffering from a terrible education system there because they have no funding. The people that lose are the people who are end up being homeless or end up being hurt because the infrastructure there is so bad because there is no funding to fix infrastructure. But it's all about scoring political points and basically being so they can say in the next election cycle to their constituents that they want to vote for them that, hey, when Biden tried to give me money, I said, no, thank you. Therefore, I got your best interest at heart because we know we don't like that Biden guy. We like whatever other guy it's going to be. It is playing with people's lives to play political games.
Well, here's the article. I pulled up the article. Let me read it because I know it's small. Let's get to it. The headline reads, "We're going away. A state's choice to forego Medicaid funds is killing hospitals." It says that Mississippi is one of the 10 states, and this is an article in the New York Times, by the way, if anyone wants to go check it out. It says Mississippi is one of the 10 states, all with Republican-led legislatures, that continue to reject federal funding to expand health insurance for the poor, intensifying financial pressure on hospitals. This article is written by Sharon Lafreniere. Sorry if I got that wrong, Sharon, but I did give you credit. All right. Look, so she's basically saying in the article, since its opening in the converted wood frame mansion 117 years ago, Greenwood LaFleur Hospital has become a medical hub for this part of Mississippi's fertile but impoverished delta, with 208 beds, an intensive care unit, a string of walk-in clinics, and a modern brick and glass building. But on a recent weekday, it's counted just 13 inpatients clustered in a single ward. The ICU and maternity ward were closed for lack of staffing, and the rest of the building was eerily silent. All signs of a hospital savaged by too many poor patients. She says Greenwood LaFleur lost $17 million last year alone, and it's down to a few million in cash reserves. And that, I guess, was quoted by Gary Marchand, the hospital's interim chief executive. He says, "We're going away." He said it's happening. And basically, the article just goes on to talk about how this is happening all over Mississippi. And no one's doing anything about it. Hospitals are closing. People are dying at an all-time rate. I think as you continue in the article, I think it talks about let's see. Say, all right. So it says that since the option to cover all adults with incomes below 138% of the poverty line opened up in 2014 under the terms of the 2010 Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare. The law, it says a majority victory for President Barack. All right, so but basically what it's saying in here is that a lot of the hospitals can't afford to pay their doctors, and so their doctors are quitting and moving to other places and things like that, which leaves um, the hospitals understaffed, overwhelmed, and the people who need care, which seem to be a lot in Mississippi, because they're dealing with so many different diseases and so much uh, I guess lack thereof of information when it comes to how to live a healthy life. Um, when you see this, this speaks to the exact thing you were talking about earlier, which is the business of these politicians and this legislation that doesn't seem to protect us. So Holly, when you start seeing stuff like this, where you see that this Mississippi has been ravished, they've been basically, like the damage. I haven't put up all of the pictures, but the damage is
Yeah.
just it's insurmountable. So when you see that, and then you realize that there could be aid, but yet you're just too stuck on your high horse to accept it, because they said that they literally could get 1.5 billion dollars in aid just like that. All they'd have to do is accept it, and they don't want it. Like, I mean, what? How does that make you feel as a taxpayer? Like to know that our money can't be spent in the right way.
I think it just reinforces the why people despise politics, because I think we recognize that the politicians will put their own self-interest before what's the best interest of everybody else. And I think that's just the frustrating part about our political system. I think that's just like, it's evident these people need help, and they could get assistance not only from the state but also the federal government, like all this assistance, but they have other things in mind in the way that they want to move. And I'm sure they really didn't ask all the people in their state if this is really what was best for them. And so I think if they were to ask, I think a lot of them would disagree. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's good for business from the political stance. And so it's frustrating, and it just reinforces why these systemic issues just don't make it seem like there's a lot of hope for change, and a lot of when this stuff happens.
Yeah, the article goes on to say that in Mississippi, Tyrone, one of the nation's poorest states, as we alluded to earlier, that the missing federal healthcare dollars have helped drive what is now a full-blown hospital crisis statewide. And experts say that no more than a few of Mississippi's 100 plus hospitals are operating at a profit. They said that free care is costing them about $600 million a year, the equivalent of 8% to 10% of their operating costs, a higher share than almost anywhere else in the nation, according to the State Hospital Association. Um, the, all, all you need to know is that expanding Medicaid would uncork $1.35 billion a year in federal funds to hospitals and healthcare providers, according to the 2021 report by the Office of the State Economist. So, Tyrone, like, if it's about money, why aren't they taking it?
I mean, just the political, reasons and stuff. But I mean, I'll do you one better. And not even talk about Medicaid. These problems are indicative of a failure of a for-profit health system. It is basically criminal that this is the system that we have in this country. We are when something is for profit, it's a business. When businesses don't make money, they shutter. That's the whole thing here. Well, people's health is not a commodity. It's not something that should be bought or sold. It's not something that you should have access to only if you can afford it. I mean, myself, I'm not somebody who's impoverished, but I don't have health insurance right now. I'm gambling with my own health because I chose to go and follow my dreams.
Mm-hmm.
That was a decision and a gamble and a choice that I had to make in the best country in the world, because we have a for-profit healthcare system. It's one of the things I was talking about earlier that we just accept as fact in this country. it's one of the things. It's a huge problem. We are one of the only developed nations that makes its people pay for their health care. It is it's I do not know how we still accept this as a matter of fact in this country. Uh, it again, it feels like it should be criminal. Have we should not be talking about a hospital's profit line and whether or not they can stay open because because they're making enough money off of people's sicknesses, people's recoveries, people's surgeries, that sort of thing. It is an absolutely insane idea that we just kind of operate like this in this country. So yes, in our current system, if Mississippi would take these Medicaid dollars, it would help a lot of people. They could help a lot of actual people with actual issues. But this Mississippi is an extreme example of a problem that the entire country faces because we have just accepted that healthcare is a for-profit business.
Mm. I feel bad. I feel so bad for those people down there right now, man. Like, just,
Yeah.
I mean, I saw an article where a mother was having a baby and lost her 2-year-old baby while she was, in labor. And I'm just like, wow, like
Mhm.
the way that they continue to be ravaged and just,
Yeah.
man.
And I know anybody who hears this might be like, well, who pays for the healthcare if the people don't pay for all this also shit? Nobody else has these problems in the world. You know what I mean? Like nobody has to worry about, well, I mean, stuff happens. Absolutely. And it's sometimes people are going to fall ill. Sometimes people are going to die, and no amount of access to healthcare is going to fix those things sometimes. But what we have in this country, for one of the richest countries in the world, there's a lot of people who needlessly get sick, needlessly die because they simply can't afford healthcare. It's whether or not it can be afforded should not be an issue at all. My brother lives in Vancouver. I was talking to him the other day. He and I are both like dealing with different illnesses right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, hey, just real quick, when you want to test, when you want to COVID test, what do? You just go pick them up for free. He was like, yeah, we just get free tests. Just go and pick them up whenever you need them, that kind of thing. I paid $20 for 2 COVID tests in this country. So, we're making financial decisions with our health on a daily basis in America when other countries who are supposedly not as cool as America, not as great as America, not as free as America, are able to just go and get the care they need when they need it. Imagine that. It's such a crazy idea to us that we're just like, well, how does that work? I can't fathom how that works in my brain because this whole time I've been paying hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars in insurance, and then hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars in medical costs so I can reach my deductible, and then probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of that after that because I had to get surgery or some shit. It's bonkers that we just operate this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. This past 2 weeks has been just like I've been very befuddled at how things have been being handled. And typically I stay out of the political realm. I don't really follow it a lot and everything like that. And I'm just like, but when you start seeing, more and more things being affected, and I think one of the things that we all can agree upon is when you start messing with the kids, I think there's like that is the one thing that can bring all sides to the table. You know what I mean? Like, whether you disagree with this or you disagree with that, I think everybody all falls in line when you start talking about the kids and their safety and the protection of the children and everything like that.
I mean,
No?
maybe if you're a selfless person, but I mean, clearly, just because kids are getting shot, that's not doing enough to
Right.
to do anything. So, I mean, I hear you talk. I totally agree. Like, you would think the fact that children are dying would bring people to the table, but I mean, there's like, there's divisions on everything, but I mean, we're really arguing about like pro-choice, like that's like pro-choice, like pro-life. Like, I mean, it's like the division everywhere is just, I don't know. Sometimes it's like so surmountable. It's like, how do you overcome it to like come to a compromise, even for kids?
And also,
Yeah.
I do want to say, right now we're looking at the beginnings of a big push to start to roll back child labor laws, and start to get kids working again, because
Mhm.
what we have is we have a corporations, owners, rich people who are like, hey, we don't have enough people who are willing to do this work for basically no money. What if we made it easier for kids to get a job? So this system, our government is here to protect our capitalist system. Our capitalist system is here to make a lot of money for a few people. Anything that goes against those things is just it's fodder. Like what we are we're resources. When companies look at us as resources, they look at us as tools. They don't look at us as people. They don't look at us as lives. They don't look at us as kids or adults. It's 100%. Just the we are the exploited class that they need to make all the money that they want.
Mm. Well, I mean, we had a deep conversation about this, man, and
I'm on one
it's
today. Sorry.
yeah. Look, man, let's and into brighter news. Jonathan Majors.
Oh God, no.
This is brighter news.
They're gonna like this one either.
Jonathan, man. When you're not making great movies, what are you doing, sir? We still don't know. There's a lot up in the air, a lot of allegations floating around right now. But let's just say the U.S. Army, they're like, listen, buddy, we can't have anything associated with what we've been associated with for years and years. Uh, so they put out a little presser. Let's see what they had to say. Let's see what they had to say. That old U.S. Army, good old Army.
Yeah, you fucked up when the U.S. military is taking the moral high ground with you.
Exactly. U.S. Army has pulled recruiting ads starring Jonathan Majors. The Army says that while Majors is innocent until proven guilty, prudence dictates that we will pull our ads until the investigation is complete. Well, sounds like the U.S. Army supports Jonathan Majors.
I
Not exactly.
Yeah, learning not only that he had been accused of abusive behavior and stuff, but learning that he's a shill for the U.S. military added just another just pile of shit onto that shit sandwich. And before we get any further, I just want to. I've been thinking a lot about this since this thing dropped, and what do what is my role going to be in a system where we have seen abuse over and over again, where victims are often ignored uh, or just completely cast aside. you know my my role in this is going to be, as a man who works in the entertainment industry, believe victims across the board. uh, if there is a system that will exonerate innocent people, uh, but until then, I'm believing victims, and that's going to be what that is, because there's just the way that we're set up to protect abusers is horrific, and it causes far more problems than it causes all the problems. It's crazy that people can get as far as they do. They can put themselves in more higher positions of power so they can enact abuse. If Jonathan Majors ends up being cleared, or something ends up working out to where cases are dropped and things like that. Cases can be dropped. Legal, legally you could be cleared or something while still being somebody who's abused or somebody who's abusive. Non abusers don't get accused of this stuff. You know what I mean? So I just want to throw that out there. I know people are not going to agree with that. Not everybody's going to agree with that, and that's fine. But that's where I stand on that. If you are the victim of abuse, you have an ally in me.
Well, thank you for that, Tyrone. I am one of those people that don't agree with you that it does not happen to non-abusers. I have been a person who has received firsthand knowledge that doesn't necessarily happen, um, and and I would not always say, I mean, I get why you're saying what you're saying, and I get the foundation of why you're saying what you're saying. But what that setup does is that setup, if we have that mindset and we adopt that mindset, potentially sets up a lot of people to get, you know, that done to. Because there are reasons be renounced, unbeknownst to us, because we may deal in a realm of reality and logic and all of that thing. But there are people who are sick people and they do things just to do things, and you'll never understand why they go to the depths that they go to the depths to do things, but they do them. And if we all adopt this idea that just because someone says something happened, then that also means that the Karens of the world will now get their pass to start saying things about individuals that they have said things about that have not happened, that these individuals then get charged with and stuff like that. So we got to be careful about this idea that all victims should be believed, because all victims are not necessarily victims. They can be actors pretending to be victims. And that's what I'm saying. Like, so we got to be careful with that. What do you
You
think,
can.
Ali?
I again, I am that attitude has exacerbated the issue and only made it. I mean, look at the shit that happened with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. You know what I mean? Like the everybody came at Amber Heard so fucking hard during that thing, while Johnny Depp, an admitted abuser, was made out to be some sort of like conquering hero. It was absolutely insane, absolutely ridiculous. These kinds of things are perpetuated by, uh, you know, this fear that well, if we start believing victims, then what does that do to the nefarious and to the malicious people who want to be out here, trying to take good people down?
But Tyrone, if
I,
you're going to use that scenario of the Johnny Depp, nobody was attacking Amber Heard until we found out she was lying. Like, if anything, everybody was attacking Johnny from the very beginning. As soon as the allegations came out, everybody jumped on Amber's side. So I'm sorry if I'm did I miss a different trial? Because that she was not. No one attacked Amber initially. When Amber initially came out with those charges, the Johnny was the one who reaped the worst of those blows in the initial. And throughout the trial, as things started to come out, and video and audio and all of this kind of stuff started surfacing, people started recanting. Like they're retracting their uh, opinions about Johnny, and started to assert different opinions about Amber Heard. So, like, am I wrong here? Did I?
there was a huge push against Amber Heard after, yeah, once the trial started. The trial, which was a defamation trial, by the way, which was not a trial on whether or not Johnny Depp was an abuser, which he absolutely was, admitted himself. Many, and all kinds of evidence supported that. But all of a sudden, the story became about how Amber Heard is this crazy woman who this and that, and it the way it played out was just, it was sad. I hate to see shit like that. I think it's there is a really big problem with the way things are set up with the way that innate misogyny and patriarchy makes us immediately consider this to be some sort of like, well, maybe kind of issue. And I thought a lot about it, and the danger, the biggest danger, is the abuse that occurs on such a high level to where, and this is just like, these are just reported cases. Imagine all the victims that see this kind of thing, that see people go, well, I don't know, maybe, and then decide, you know what, I don't even want to be a part of that shit. I'm just going to go ahead and keep my shit inside and just deal with it for the rest of my life. And my abuser can go on and abuse other people. So, this,
So,
this
so
is where I
Tyrone,
stand.
I'm so what? So because I didn't even know we were going to get into this conversation, but now that we are, it's a very interesting conversation because what I'm asking is, are you saying that if a victim says that they were victimized, we should believe them without evidence?
We should absolutely believe them. Yes.
So, with that same level of reasoning, the woman who accused Emmett Till of doing something to her, we should have just believed her because she said it without evidence.
Well, I mean, they did believe her,
No, no,
but
no. I'm not saying that they didn't. I'm saying
right.
that under what you're saying, and because that's why I repeated it a
Well,
couple
and I
times
know,
because I want to
and I
make sure.
figured I in my mind when I knew I was
Yeah.
gonna create this, I figured Emmett Till would come up because there is racial nuance, but this that clouds the conversation because that racial nuance is a completely different issue. That's not a matter of uh, that's not a matter of somebody being like, oh, I'm a victim of abuse because I'm taking down this person. That was straight up racial bullshit. That was what that was, and absolutely not that person should not have been believed. But that the Emmett Till situation is not this Jonathan Major situation. That's not what we have here.
Well, do we know what we have here? I mean, because the only people that know what actually happened were the people that were there, and based upon the evidence that has been, you know, received at this point, those people that were there acknowledged that it didn't go how the victim is stated that it went initially. So that's
And
why
if
I'm
that's the
like,
case, then Jonathan Majors will be exonerated.
but the exoneration is not the issue. The issue is that now the picture has been painted, the perception of one in all in everything that we've ever seen. You can be accused of something, you can beat that something, but that thing will always follow you the rest of your life. So this
Uh,
allegation, what? Like you
wait,
name
like that's the thing. Like people say that I can't think of a case where somebody has been cleared of being an abuser, has been proven to not be an abuser, but somebody's still like, nah, fuck that, they're an abuser.
um I guess we would have to do research, but I'm sure that if we did, I'm sure we could probably find an individual or two, or maybe more that has happened to. But what I'm trying to identify here is because I now it seems as though you're saying that the victimization of a person who's saying that they're abused. So this is just primarily for this situation. So you're not saying that victims
This is
across the board should be believed if they said they're victimized, whether that be someone who says that this individual robbed me when they didn't. They, that
oh no,
individual.
this is
So
specifically. I'm talking
okay,
specifically
yeah,
about men abusing women, men in a position of power abusing women.
okay, okay. So so the victim should always be believed in that scenario. No, without any evidence, just them saying it verbally.
I'm saying I will be an ally to the victims. Yes.
Mm. Yeah, man. Holly, are you also of this same mind in that specific situation?
Um, so I think if how I just approach situations in general, I think just holistically, I think there's two sides to every story. I feel like not to say like I under so just if we're just speaking about Jonathan Majors, I feel like something in this situation, whether those people said it happened or not, she reacted to something that made her feel that way or made her feel threatened. So we're like I don't again, we weren't there, we don't
Hmm.
know allegedly, but whatever triggered her to feel that way or say those things. I don't want to be dismissive of that.
Hmm.
But I do hear you, Ty, when you're saying, like, I do believe that um, some people can say things and it's not fully vetted. And then it can damage someone's reputation. Even if they are exonerated, it doesn't mean like if you look up Jonathan Majors, this might will always be associated with him just because of everything he's connected to. Um, and so it's, like I said, it's there's a lot going on here, so I don't ever want to be dismissive of either person's side or perspective. But I think, yeah, I feel like there's definitely two sides here. So it's not to say that because remember, she's going to have her perception of how the situation took place, and he's going to have his perception, and somewhere in the middle, they're going to have to figure it out. But yeah, I'm one of those people like, yeah, what, it's just like in this situation, it's like, because he got charged, it's like, what's the proof? But Chion's right. There are a lot of times where there are people victimized all the time, and then they're just dismissed. Even if they do come forward, like nothing happens, even if that, a lot of people it goes unreported in a lot of situations too. So
no, I agree. I agree with you, Holly, when it comes to that. When it comes to like, there's a lot of people that don't get justice in that situation. But my thing is, if we just cast,
why do you think they don't get justice in that situation? Is it because maybe there's a system that tends to lean towards the abuser and be like, well, maybe we don't want to mess with it?
I can speak. No. I can speak to this from firsthand. That's what I'm saying. I'm giving you firsthand content. So I'm going to give a scenario, right? Because this happened to me. This actually happened to me. So I was in a relationship with said person. We got into an argument. No abuse, just an argument. This person grabbed my watch that I had on, which was an expensive watch. Took my watch, slammed the watch on the ground, and broke it into 1,000 pieces. Cool. So at that point, I'm trying to walk out because it's now escalated. Snatch my watch, broke it. I'm trying to leave. You're blocking the door. So now I can't leave. So now I'm feeling like I can't leave. I'm trapped. In this moment, I'm the victim. However, this is where the scenario changes. I'm like, I'm leaving. You're not leaving was the response that was given. I'm leaving. Bang. Hand through a glass window right there by where we're by the door. You're bleeding. Why did you do that? My response, I didn't do that. You did. Now, under your scenario, police come. She says, I did this to her. She's bleeding. I go to jail. Now, this is where things get crazy for most people. Do you or do you not have the financial means to defend yourself in that moment? Because if you don't, you're going to get a public defender who 95% of the time is going to tell you, you need to just cop to it, because if we go to trial, it's going to cost the state money, and we don't have that. You don't have that, and it's better for you to do that. So a lot of times what happens is the so-called abuser, who could have been the victim, now falls to the wayside and gets, and there's no justice in that because they couldn't afford it. Now, in this scenario, you have someone of Jonathan Major's stature who is in the public eye, surrounded by people who profit off of Jonathan Majors. All have to protect this investment by all means, because this is how we all eat. So in that scenario, I don't know if he hit that girl. I don't know if he did or didn't. What I do know is that he has the money to defend himself if it takes the form of a real case. So what I'm saying is, when you say, is it the system? Yeah, it's the system. But at the same time, when these individual situations happen, and you have this one-minded idea that you have, where it's just like, I'm going to believe the victim no matter what until you're proven guilty. So if I can't prove I'm not guilty, then you're always going to think I'm guilty, even though I wasn't guilty. I was innocent in the whole scenario. So that's where I'm saying, like, just to believe somebody.
Well, I believe you because you were a victim of abuse.
But you wouldn't have believed me in that situation, because the victim would have been the person who looked like they were victimized. All I got was
on paper.
All I got was my watch ripped off, and it's broken into 1,000 pieces, but she's bleeding. Who you gonna believe? That's what I'm saying. Like it's now you're putting me in a situation where I'm believing the victim because she looks like she was victimized. You're the aggressor because you look like you could be. And in this case, looking at Jonathan Majors, he just did Creed. He just beefed up. He looks like he could do some damage to a female or male. So yeah, if this young, innocent, pure-looking, young female says he did this to, well, then he must have done it, according to you. And that's why I'm saying we got to be careful with that. You might not have to, but I'm going to be careful with that, with the casting judgment without any evidence, because I've been that guy on the receiving end of the faulty shit. And I'm like, yo, if I wouldn't have got out of there, if I literally would have waited for the police to get there, I would have fucking had that on my record. I would have had assault on my record because she's bleeding. And there would have been no way for me to defend that unless I had the financial means to do so. And that's what happens to a dang, my mouth is like dry. Tell me my mouth is just dry, bro. Look like a crackhead.
Well, number one, sorry that happened to you, but also it sounds like it was an almost situation. But like I get what you're saying, and there's always exceptions to rules and stuff, and I understand that. But what I'm saying is that overwhelmingly, we have, especially in the entertainment industry, which I'm a part of, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not a part of this problem, is that we have men in position of power who abuse women, and they do so with basic impunity. And I'm not going to be a part of the. And when I say system, I don't mean legal system. I mean like kind of like a system and kind of a community that only perpetuates that cycle because abusers feel like they're protected. There are pieces of shit all throughout comedy who have power because people look at them as a means to get booked, or they look at them as a means to forward their career and stuff like that. So when they abuse somebody, those victims are ignored, and people are like, well, he seems like he's always nice to me, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I make that my line in the sand is no longer being a part of that problem. No longer being a part of a problem where a victim can come forward, where they can say, hey, this person right here abused me in some way, whether sexually or physically or whatever. And they're met with nothing but, what's the word I'm looking for? Disbelief and questions and stuff like that. I'll be a part of the probably small group of people that's like, all right, I hear you, believe you. This person's off the list.
Well, the Jussie Smolletts of the world are happy to hear that that you would support them. But I'm just saying, bro. Like I just know that it's when you go through it and you actually see how people maneuver and and just the depths of which someone will try to get back at you if they feel like they've been wronged or feel like there are some very twisted individuals. And if I just go around and just believe everything that somebody says, and we got it, that title, victim, that title in itself, when you give a person the title victim, you almost dismiss a lot of the other shit that goes along before that. Because if I gave her that title, the same individual I'm talking about, if I gave her the title of victim, that dismisses everything that she did before this so-called victimization ever happened.
Well, I mean, it sounds like in that situation, though, you were like, nah, fuck this. I'm getting out of here because this situation is terrible. And then it sounded like it was over after that. If I'm correct.
Well, it was over because I was able to get out of there without the cops coming.
Right.
Like
because you're not an abusive person. You were like, I'm getting myself out of the situation. Well, this is crazy.
No. It had nothing to do with me being an abusive person or not an abusive person. It had everything to do with me being a smart enough person to know that if the police show up, and this is not, I'm not going to be able to explain this, is what I was saying. Like when she punched through that glass and I said, why did you do that? And then she said, I didn't. You did it. My intelligence and intellect kicked in and was like, yo, dude, this is not a situation where you want to have to explain this to anyone. You probably should get out of here immediately. You are black. In this scenario, this was a white girl, so I knew in that situation this is not going to look good. I look the same way that I did then. So yeah,
that happened to my ex-husband. Not
thank
like
you.
and I'm saying like him and his sister actually got into a fight, and she threw one of those like glass decor balls at his
Mhm.
leg and cut his leg open. But because the sister called 911, like they both had to go to jail and get booked on
Domestic
basically like
CDV,
the best, yeah,
criminal domestic
domestic
violence.
battery, and it was on his record. And then like they went through the system, and like even though the charges got dropped because they both agreed not to like press charges against each other, but it stayed on his record because it was booked. Like he had a mugshot and
Exactly.
everything. And so on the back end, you know, once we're married, like it affected him trying to get jobs because it's like, oh, you had this DV on your record, and it was with his own like sister, but because that's just the way the system is set up.
Mm-hmm.
But basically what ended up happening is like, interesting enough, UCF has a program, a legal program that will help students at low cost. And if we were able to get that whole situation expunged off his record and the mugshot removed, because it's like you're going to graduate, you're trying to get a corporate job, that pretty much like could really not allow you to get a job. And he didn't touch his sister, he didn't hit his sister, she hit him, but because it was, you know, she called and it was a conflict, and mind you, he's the one bleeding, had to go get stitches, he couldn't even walk, he had to get a whole like literally like 12 stitches going down his leg, she had nothing. But I think it's because she had a broke fingernail or something, like they had to like take them both, like it was just very crazy, and it just was unfortunate. But that's why I said I understand, you know, like both sides.
It's
So,
fortunate
for sure.
enough. It's fortunate that he was in a financial position later on in his life to be able to go ahead and rectify the wrongs that were done. Because again, like you said, it stayed on his record and affected him getting
Yeah,
jobs.
for like 2 years. Yeah, two,
And
3 years.
basically, you at that point have to go and pay to get it expunged from your record. So now, even though I was found innocent, I didn't
Correct.
really do this shit. I now have to pay more money to prove my innocence. That's the system we live in. Is you have to pay so much to prove your innocence that a lot of times people just say fuck it and accept the guilt, and just because it's cheaper. It's like that's all. Look. All right, fuck it. You know, you get with a public defender. The public defender is telling you, look, look. I could probably take it to trial, but it's going to cost you a set amount of dollars, and you know you don't have those set amount of dollars. Now you're like, okay, well, what do I get if I say I did it? Then they're like, oh, okay, well, I can get you probation. You can go home today. You know, just things like that. There's so many dudes that are locked up right now because someone lied or said something that they did that they didn't do. And I'm not saying that there's not a lot of people that are in jail that are supposed to be in there for what they did, and people saying, but I'm just talking about just in the way you think, Tyrone, when it comes down to I'm just gonna go with the victim, like bro, like that. If I would have been the victim, but I would have been the aggressor if I would have been picked up by the police. If I'd have been picked up by the police at that stage in my life, I would have went to jail and been subjected to a public defender, and I would have been in there trying to prove that I didn't make this young white girl bleed. And good luck with that. Good luck with that, dude. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, it's hard. I need to have more proof because I don't want to be
Yeah.
like we were with the Johnny Depp. As soon as that story hit, people was like, Johnny, oh wait,
Johnny Depp is an abuser.
He's an
admitted
abuser.
He is. Johnny Depp is an admitted abuser.
Okay. I'm not here to argue it. I mean, he's an admitted abuser.
People use him as an example of like somebody whose career was ruined because of abuse allegations.
No. I think they use him as an example of someone saying some shit that like when you come into what they came into with a defamation suit where she's saying these things that turn out not to be true. Yes, it came out that he was an abuser, but the things that she said about him weren't necessarily true. That's why she lost her case. What I'm saying is the idea that we believe everyone who says something without any evidence, I can't support that, is what I'm saying. I can't just say because if I supported that way of thinking, then in the scenario I gave you about my situation, the one that I went through, then you would have went with what she would have said in that scenario. because she's the one that looks like she was the person who was victimized. Not because she was the person that was victimized, but because she had something in that moment that could have showed or looked like she was victimized. All I had was a watch that was broken. So that was what I'm going to show you. That well, you're going to say, well, she didn't touch you. Like, so you shouldn't have touched her. It would, it's one of those things. So that's why I'm just like, the idea to just keep on just believing people that just say something. Karens of the world will be getting away with it. They will have a field day with young black men. Oh, he touched me. He can't. I just saw a video where she's on the phone with the police telling him he came at me aggressively. He didn't come at you aggressively, but yet, like you're saying, this is potential enough to get him killed or arrested or whatever. So that's all. But I I always respect your opinions on things and how you look at things. So there's no shot at you in those regards.
Good debate.
But absolutely was not what I was expecting to do, but we did it. So we're not going to go over rejected or dissected today, unfortunately, for all those who missed rejected or dissected. But we'll do it we'll do that segment another time. Must watch TV. Anything you guys are watching on TV that everybody should be? I know John Wick. I saw the new John Wick movie, and action, more action, and a whole lot of action, and action. It's like a nonstop action fest. Like there's like a period where it's like probably 30 to 40 minutes of straight action, and you're like, damn, like do they stop? I'm serious. Like it's all of that. So if you're a fan of action, John Wick 4, I believe it is out for your viewing pleasure. But anything you guys watching right now?
I got bit by the Ted Lasso bug on Apple TV.
Ted Lasso, new season of Ted Lasso. Okay, all right, Ted Lasso. What about you, Holly? You got anything?
I've been going down the whole rabbit hole of documentaries, and I finally saw I don't know what it is, because last week we talked about the Murdaugh murders. I went down the whole of the Giancarlo with the Falwell family, like of Liberty University, and that was on Hulu, and like how they had like the wife was having sex with this pool boy, but he's not really a pool boy anymore, and like all this stuff. And then basically the husband had to resign as president of Liberty University, and there was like all these people were coming out about like how they swept a lot of sexual abuse under the rug and like rapes. And it was like I was like, okay,
hold up, like, babe. You in the comments, babe? My wife got a degree, her PhD from Liberty University. So
yeah, no, that's a whole thing about how like the Falwells, basically the dad, he was an evangelical, and he started his, and then it's talking real about how the son takes off from it. Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, it's on Hulu, and it was. I went down that rabbit hole, and I was like, oh my gosh, why do I keep going down these like white people with power rabbit holes, and like them like stomping on the little people? But yeah, I watched that the other day, and I was like, wow. But basically this kid brought them down because he got proof of these like being their
sex slave. Their sex slave, because he was sleeping with Jerry and the wife. They was both sleeping with him, right?
No, it was he would sleep with the wife first. Yeah, watch, and then he would come after the guy. Okay. But anyways, they had their own fetishes, but long story short, it just showed basically, the corruption and everything that's wrong with their connection to Trump and all these kind of things, and inappropriateness and lack of diversity at the school. So yeah, I don't know. That's where I went.
Oh my goodness. Whew. Yeah, you want to check out a good doc? There you are. You can find out about Jerry Falwell.
Yeah, Amy said it happened while she was there. Yeah, it was very recent.
Yeah. See, so wow. Also, must watch TV. We got The Mandalorian, Tyrone's favorite show to hate. I'm just playing, Tyrone. He's like, look, I don't hate it. I know he doesn't hate it yet. But Mandalorian is dropped today. Another episode dropped today. So I haven't seen that yet. You seen it already, Tyrone?
Yeah. It's a fun episode.
Okay, so we do get a thumbs up this episode,
It was fun.
or
Yeah.
uh, that is like we'll talk about it off camera, man. Because that was like, it's fun for Mandalorian. It's like it's okay. It's not not my cup of tea. We also have Shadow and Bone season 2. Pretty good show so far, guys. I liked season 1. Season 2 I don't think is as good as season 1, but it's not bad and it's not, you know, yeah, check it out.
Do, do you think it lost? Do you think some shows have lost their momentum because like they came out during COVID, like when we were all inside and could watch them, and then of course they waited like a year and a half before the next season. Now we're all back outside and we're like, oh, like like all this other good thing. I don't know. I feel like I liked it when and I because I watched it during COVID, and then now that the second season, it's just not giving the
It's not.
same. I don't know.
It's
Yeah.
not.
So
It's and you may be onto
weird.
something there, Holly. It may be the COVID
Ain't
like
go
little
nowhere.
yeah, that
Stages.
honeymoon is over. And now we're really I yeah, because I feel like Tyrone is like that. And he's like, look, I want a good well-written piece. If you're not gonna give me a good, well-written piece, then don't bother wasting my time. And I think with COVID, it allowed us to kind of accept that there wasn't shit else on and nothing else to do. So we just had to accept what was going on, and that may be the case because yeah, I do definitely think in this case with Shadow and Bone that it definitely lost a lot of momentum. I'm not as invested in the characters. Some of the episodes kind of drawl on, and it's like, but I'm a stickler for finishing things.
Mhm.
If it's not like terrible, then I'll finish it, even if it takes me a couple years, but I'll finish it. So far so good with Shadow and Bone. But um
Okay.
I haven't
there
started the
was
second season yet, but the first season was all right.
yeah,
Yeah.
the first season was definitely all right. I watched Creed 3 too, guys, and I must say,
I watched it too.
um Holly, I wasn't that impressed. I'm gonna be honest. If anything, nah, I mean I know women love it because of for the obvious reasons, but
I
um
mean,
I'm gonna say this: Rocky, it he should be upset at himself for being in his feelings to the point where you just weren't part of the project. But this is nothing more than Rocky 6. Do you remember Rocky 6? Isn't Rocky 6 the one with Tommy Morrison? Rocky
I don't
Five was
remember.
Rocky 5, I believe, was Drago. Anybody in the comment section, if you know, let me know. But I think Rocky 5 was Drago, and then Rocky 6 would have been Tommy Morrison. But Tommy, the whole story with the Tommy Morrison was he came out of nowhere. He wanted to be champion and he wanted to be trained. He wanted Rocky to train him, and then Rocky didn't move fast enough for him, and basically he went with the other side. Wound up getting a shot at the title, wins the belt, and then challenges Rocky to or Rocky and him get into it and challenge each other to a fight. That's exactly what Creed 3 is. It's exactly what it is.
mm,
So when I watched it, I was like, yeah, no. So I hope
I
I hope
like
they
the vulnerability that it showed of like black men crying and supporting like taking accountability for like the choices that they made in life. I mean that's me. That's what I took from it towards the end, but you know, understanding that people have their seasons and like I feel like there was kind of that no. That's kind of how I took it. Like just being making sure you're accountable for your own choices in life and that, people are sometimes in your life for a season and like sometimes as much as like you guys go through shit doesn't mean you're always gonna be, like best friends or you owe them anything. Like, I don't know. That's kind of beyond all the shirtless men and like the weak kind of the plot was kind of easy to figure out, but that's kind of what I took from it.
yeah,
So
I mean that's a fair yeah, that's a fair review because I mean There were
Yeah.
elements in there, as there would be with any movie. You would hope that there are elements that resonate with you, but eh,
Yeah.
just as an overall piece, after watching it, I was just like, I've seen this before. So I wasn't too impressed. But it's out there for your viewing pleasure. Creed 3.
Hmm.
So other than that, Drago was 4. All right. So Rocky 5. All right, Rocky 5 was Tommy. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. So yeah, it was like Rocky 5. So but please go check it out. And if I'm wrong, come tell me I'm wrong. Let me know what you thought. Um, but any other than that, anything on the way out, guys?
Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Always,
Yeah.
always.
See you on
And
Saturday morning.
yeah, as Tyrone stated, if you want to check us out, you want to see our faces, our beautiful faces again, you can check us out at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, right here on Facebook or YouTube at the New Blurred Order. Guys, I had a fun time yesterday. I actually, I'll put some post some pictures and everything, but we had a chance to go down to James John's studio, Afrotainment, and yo, it was awesome. It was it
Yeah.
was it was it was an awesome experience.
Okay.
The studio is beautiful, beautiful studio. James was like super fun experience. Had a lot of fun. So keep an eye out for the videos and the photos that we took. I had to wear makeup, Holly, for the very first time, and uh, my makeup artist, they said light makeup. Apparently, she didn't get the memo because I really have a new respect for you women and the stuff that y'all go through and just the makeup procedure because
Hmm.
that whole boom 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 with the brush that she was doing in my nose, she was like, "Pa, pa, 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 pa," and I was like, at some point I started laughing and giggling because I thought she was doing it purposely. I was like, is she like playing with me? Is this like, does it become a game? Like, because she just kept on like, "Pa, pa, 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 pa." I was like, all right, I think you got it. I think you missed the spot or whatever, but it was a very very fun experience. But yeah, special shout outs to the Financial Griot. Special shouts out to the New Blurred Order. Also, thank you to everybody in the comment section for coming and joining us. Great combination of support and commentary. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Um, Again, thank you to everyone that joined us on YouTube, everyone that joins us on all the audio platforms, and on behalf of myself, Holly Noon, and Tyrone Thornhill, and we cannot forget Minnie Morales, who wasn't here with us
Yes.
today. He's out here being a star, man. So keep shining, Minnie. But on behalf of all of us, to all of you, until next week, we are the Multiverse Podcast, and we are